Hey y'all, it's Leah. Okay, so before I start, I decided that I'm going to do my chapter reviews a bit different going forward. Since my life is busy with various things, it can be hard and kind of stressful to do weekly chapter reaction/reviews and posting them at the appropriate time frame. So in order for me to keep myself from being burnt out from the week-to-week manga experience and the current story in general, I decided that I'm going to do overviews of each batch of recent chapters that releases. So I'm going to do this rather than week to week reviews of a single chapter where I'm picking apart a small piece of the story. This will help me see more of the grand scheme of what Oda is going with the story instead of overthinking and potentially misunderstand Oda's writing decisions. This will also help me not be completely burned out by the arc, although I'm like 70% arc fatigued already. And this way, I will have more time to produce other kinds of content for your guys' entertainment, so I hope you guys understand the change. But let me go ahead and tackle what happened within this current stretch of the Onigashima craziness. So if you're interested in my overview for these chapters, then sit back, relax, grab your snacks, and without further ado, let's get to it! So with the cover art requests of this bunch, I definitely have to put the one where Brook lets an army of ants pass him over the Bonnie one. It's just so cute seeing Brook being polite to tiny bugs. Bonnie competing with the otters in a soba eating contest is my least favorite one within this batch because we don't know Bonnie too much as a character. Although it's cute seeing her compete with the otters, I can't seem to rave over this one just due to the fact that we barely know who she is outside of being a supernova, having a love for eating, and having connections to Kuma. So hopefully we can get to know more about her in the future. And of course, we got the color spread of the most recognizable right-hand men that we've seen in the series. This looks freaking badass, even with Beppo's cute ass sticking like a sore thumb. It's definitely one of the more unique spreads that we've gotten, kind of like the Beast Pirate color spread that we gotten earlier this year. And I already know that this is going to trigger both agenda and power scaling piece, so Oda definitely knew what he was doing making this spread. I also can't leave out the fire Shonen Jump cover of Luffy, Yamato, and Momo all together doing cool shonen poses. This is Yamato's second appearance on a Shonen Jump cover, so I'm happy to see my girl making money moves and truly being out here. So if I had to rank in terms of liking, the color spread and jump cover is definitely number 1, the Brook cover art is number 2, and the Bonnie cover art is number 3. I like seeing Sanji get scared of losing his humanity. He probably feels like his mother's sacrifice will be in vain if he were to end up emotionless like his brothers. Sanji is already one of the most developed Straw Hats based on the last arc and what we're getting from him in this arc, so I like seeing him freak out at the possibility of losing the one thing that his mother died to protect. It definitely adds more to his character arc and his personal struggle. I see a power-up for Sanji coming real soon, and now that he ditched the raid suit, I'm really curious to see what it's going to be. I wonder if Oda will ever give Sanji Conqueror's Haki, but if not, it's fine because Sanji honestly doesn't need it to prove that he's super strong. But I just wonder if Oda will ever give Sanji Conqueror's Haki, just like Zoro was revealed to have Conqueror's Haki. I love seeing Big Mom just do her damn thing for this chapter. I love how versatile she is in combat, and my goodness does this girl have agility. Like, that Mama Raid move proves that weight doesn't matter in One Piece. Anybody, even Big Mom, can be an Olympic gold medal worthy gymnast. The Hawkins vs. Killer fight really shows just how much of a loyal first mate Killer is. And we already know how much Killer cares for Kid, but just seeing him disregard his life so easily just for Kid to be alive, I feel like this chapter really shows the fierce loyalty a second in command truly can be for the captain. We've seen it with Rayleigh, we've seen it with Zoro, and now we're seeing it with Killer. So that really made me respect Killer on a whole nother level. Wish we could have gotten more out of Hawkins in this arc, because even though his way of thinking is interesting in a story where will and determination triumphs anything, I don't feel the satisfaction of Hawkins as a supernova and as an antagonist. He just feels like he was reduced to being a recognizable lackey for Kaido. I just wish we could have gotten more out of his character, and I'm not saying like how we got out of a supernova like Law, but more like how we got out of a supernova like Beige. The final double page spreads looked fantastic, and I like seeing how Killer used his brains to get the one-up for this fight, and ultimately defeat Hawkins. I really like Killer's character much more after this fight, and I enjoy seeing his fighting style with his scythe blades. It's quite unique and badass. Although this fight was short, it was interesting seeing how this fight was affecting the Kid Law versus Big Mom fight, and I like how this fight showed just how Killer feels about Kid. I would love a flashback on how they met and grew up, but maybe we'll get that one day, who knows. Overall, I thought this chapter was pretty good. When I first read it, I didn't care for it too much, but after rereading it, I enjoyed it much more than I initially did. The 3 numbers look awesome and look like an actual threat in my opinion. Hopefully they don't just get one-shotted and amount to being big fodder like the others. It's kind of weird seeing Drake and Apu converse when they were fighting each other chapters ago. I would have liked to see that get set up throughout the gap that we last seen them, because this section feels very thrown in my opinion. But despite that, Apu's offer to take out Kaido sounds interesting nevertheless. Okay, so I don't like the fact that Kinemon, Kiku, and Kanjuro are actually alive. Yes, I know it's One Piece, people rarely die, but what bothers me is Oda executing an emotional moment that gives the impression that a character had died, and then chapters later, the character turns out alive, basically making the previous moment lose its merit and emotional weight. Oda wrote 2 scenes where it implies that Kiku, Kinemon, and Kanjuro dies. Not only that, but Kiemon's quote-unquote death scene shows the ruthlessness of Kaido. So seeing these characters come back not only cheapens the moment to me as a reader, but it dampens Kaido's threat factor as a villain. Kinemon, Kiku, and Kanjuro being alive shows the flaw in Oda's writing, and that is his common ability of pulling fake out deaths and his severe lack of deaths in the series. I love Oda and I admire him as a writer for the most part, but seeing stuff like this, I can't blindly brush it off or defend it. I don't like all 3 of them being alive, and it continues to remove the tension for this raid. And it just makes their implied death scenes amount to wasted panels in all honesty. But despite that, hopefully Oda is setting up Usopp getting a moment with him leaving with Kinemon, because homeboy desperately needs his Straw Hat moment for this raid. I wonder if Yamato is going to be the one to stop the Konzenbo, since she has ice-based powers. I can definitely see Oda doing that in order to stall her from stopping the bombs. And my goodness, do I love her doggy form. It looks dangerous but elegant. And speaking of her doggy form, how did the lackeys recognize Yamato in her wolf form if this is supposed to be the first time Yamato's transformed in years? Especially since she was wearing the sea stone shackles for most of her life. Unless they were around since Yamato was a child, maybe? Yeah, let's go with that assumption before I call this a potential plot hole. I really hope Big Mom doesn't get defeated, because there are still so many plot lines tied to her and a potential arc that heavily surrounds her character. I don't care if other people are tired of her, she cannot go down this arc. So although Law's Kroom power-up and Kid's magnetic power-up looks cool as hell, I don't know how to feel about it doing major damage against Big Mom, because it all depends on if Big Mom gets ultimately defeated or somehow some way she flees and gets temporarily put down. I don't know, I just know I wouldn't like Big Mom getting defeated for good by Kid-in-Law. Luffy still needs to deal with her after Kaido, so hopefully Oda doesn't forget what he set up there and puts her down for good in this arc. I know this may be an unpopular opinion in the community, but I actually really love Big Mom as a villain, so I'm not ready to say goodbye to her just yet. Overall, this was the weakest chapter out of the bunch for me in terms of enjoyment. I didn't really like it, and the highlight was honestly Law's crew move. This chapter reminds me why Big Mom is one of my favorite villains because she truly looked dangerous and threatening this chapter. Just seeing her snatch the lackey's lifespans away and that double page spread of her eyes on fire? Bruh, Big Mom is truly a different breed. Despite her brief focus, she was amazing this chapter. The Apu, Drake, and Yamato scene was quick but entertaining. The dialogue between them feels like Yamato interacted with them before, and it's funny seeing Yamato jump to conclusions and attack Drake. She reminds me so much of Luffy sometimes. I wonder what Apu is going to do to try to get Yamato on his side, and I'm curious to see how X Drake handles Apu for good. And speaking of the numbers, I heard a theory of the new numbers being the samurai who were stuck with Yamato in a cave, and when I first heard it, I was like, nah, that's dumb. But seeing the Fuga number become interested in Yamato and chase after her, I'm starting to reconsider the possibility of it potentially being Ushimaru. Now, if those supposedly dead samurai are those numbers, then first off, that's dark as hell Oda, and two, I wonder how Yamato will come to realize this and react to this. So I'm interested to see how this wild goose chase for Yamato goes. Now, this section with Sanji is such a peak moment for his character. The fact that Oda hints that Sanji potentially hit that geisha is wild, because the one thing Sanji won't do is hurt a woman. We've seen it with Khalifa, we've seen it with Black Maria, so the fact that Oda is trying to make it seem like Sanji did the one thing that goes against his morals is surprisingly great to see. This chapter solidified my opinion that Sanji is one of the best written Straw Hats in the crew, arguably the most well written. Personally, I don't think Sanji hurt that woman. I think Oda is trying to put Sanji through mind games and drive that internal war he is having with himself even further. And oh my gosh, the internal dialogue Sanji was having with himself was top tier. It really adds to the complexity between him being a gentleman and being a product of German science. Honestly, I thought that the Robin versus Black Maria fight was going to end up being my favorite fight in the raid, but this Sanji versus Queen fight might be my true favorite fight depending on how it ends. Because the fact that this fight just adds more layers to Sanji's character arc from Whole Cake Island and is slowly giving him growth character and strength wise, I freaking love it, man. Sanji is definitely one of my favorite Straw Hats after this, which is funny because before Whole Cake Island, he used to be one of my least favorites. But I guess that's the power of Oda's writing, right? I'm happy to see Sanji abandon the raid suit and just depend on the powers he's been rocking with before Jiraiya came to the picture. And I feel like his character arc of severing his familial ties is finally coming to its conclusion. I love the moment between Sanji and Zoro. I feel like it shows just how much trust they have for each other, even if they argue a lot. And of course, the ending with Sanji's Hell Memories move was the icing on the cake for this awesome character moment. Overall, I really love this chapter. I enjoy every section and interaction. It's definitely one of my favorite chapters in the arc, and it gave me a much better feeling than chapter 1030 did. Overall, I thought these string of chapters were a roller coaster ride to say the least. 1029 was good, 1030 was frustrating, but 1031 was amazing. So Oda definitely had us for a bumpy ride, but thankfully the final destination for these past few weeks was worth it. I love where Oda is taking Sanji's character. For the chunk of the post time skip before Whole Cake Island, I wish for Sanji to get this kind of character focus, so seeing this now just makes me love Sanji even more, and he is definitely one of my top Straw Hats after this. We had a lot of focus with Kid, Law versus Big Mom, so I expect it to conclude in these next batch of chapters. I don't know what's going to happen to Big Mom at the end of this fight, but hopefully Oda doesn't put her down for good, because we need Big Mom in this Elbaf arc. I don't care what the I'm tired of big mean crowd says. Hopefully Yamato can get the same Sanji treatment that he got for chapter 1031 and future chapters, because they have similar plights, so I would love to see Oda give her more development, just as he did for Sanji for 1031. But nevertheless, I'm interested to see where she goes with this wild goose chase subplot line. But yeah, despite Oda not killing the K trio and adding the GEMINI plotline, it looks like things are progressing surely, and as always, I'm looking forward to see what happens next. But anyway, let me know how you felt about these string of chapters. Did you love them? Did you hate them? Or do you have mixed feelings about them? Also, let me know your favorite chapter from this bunch and your predictions for the next batch of chapters. If you enjoyed this video, then it'd be really cool if you no like that like button, because you really help your girl out. Please subscribe for more One Piece related videos in the future. Hit that bell notification so you can always be notified whenever I post. Links to my socials and Discord are in the description box below. Please stay safe out there, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye bye!